Kid who's probably never heard no in his life. I was sitting in a local takeaway around lunchtime, waiting for my order when this mother and her son come in too. Her kid's probably 5 or 6. She orders then sits down. Kid starts running in circles, yelling nonsense, and the mum is just staring at him, doing absolutely nothing. Soon the kid gets bored and goes behind the counter and comes up right next to the deep fryer. The woman cooking instantly tries to shoo the kid back into the dining section, and when the kid says no and tries to move closer to the hot and sharp things, the lady goes, "Ma'am, you need to get your son, he can't be back here." And the mother says, "Oh, he's fine," in the most flippant tone ever. At this point everyone in the shop is staring at, most with judgmental faces, including me. And she doesn't move, so the cook starts shuffling the kid out behind the counter, a hand on his back. That gets a reaction out of the mom. She stands up and screams, "Don't touch me, son. I'll call the police on you." An elder man sitting nearby goes, "If you controlled your kid she wouldn't have to." She grabs her kid roughly and spins around, like she's looking for support. She doesn't find any. She looks right at me and says, "Do you believe this? My son's a child, doesn't yours act up occasionally?" I gave my 4-year-old who was sitting next to me playing Candy Crush a pointed look. "Well, of course she has, she's 4, she has at least 10 tantrums a day." But instead I go, "No, my daughter has a little something called discipline. Perhaps you should try it." Well, then she tells me she feels sorry for my children, and demands the food to be on the house and free drinks for the disrespect she's received since coming in. Typically, she doesn't get what she wants and declares at least she know where not to eat ever again, and drags her kid out the door behind her. Why can't people just control their children? It's not that hard, hand them a phone and you'll be amazed at how quiet they can be. Kid running behind the counter, around the fryer? I think the restaurant should call the police rather than the parent. It might not be illegal, but the mom should have a stern talking to from a person with a uniform, for neglecting her kids and the restaurant workers' safety. Not illegal? Sounds like criminal negligence and neglect to me. Of course, I'm not a lawyer. It's not just the child and the restaurant workers' safety. I know for a fact that kid didn't wash his hands and put on gloves and a hairnet. He could make everyone sick if he touched any of the things that touch the food. The kid gets fried. Worker, what is this? NVM, I'll just serve them this. Hey, there is a new fried dish, add it to the menu. Because a lot of parents these days can't seem to be bothered to control their kids. They'd rather let them do/have what they want instead of dealing with the tantrums and bad behavior. Sad, really. Just because you can spit a crotch gremlin out of your bag doesn't mean you ever should. Just because you can be a sperm donor doesn't mean you should put it anywhere but a Kleenex. There's so many irresponsible humans on this planet. Those that know they don't want to have one should be allowed to be fixed for free, with no shit from the religious old man politicians who want to keep people poor and tied down with kids they won't fund social programs for, because if people are distracted with starving kids and trying to keep a roof over their own heads, they're not watching what sleazy politicians are doing. Downvote me if you want. But I think any person who goes to a public health department and asks to take themselves out of the reproductive population permanently should have that done at no or minimal charge. Sure, have a waiting period between request and procedure, like a week, because they gotta schedule it and all, then they can still change their mind if they want, etc. But, seriously, let people who know they don't want kids and shouldn't be parents make sure there aren't accidents. This avoids the whole abortion thing, plus, purely voluntary. Just make it available.